Call this meeting to order and let's do the pledge of allegiance. I
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Time is 7 p.m. It's May 12, 2026. I'm Walter Wick. Can we go around the table and do verbal roll call?
Delasini, Aumsville City Council.
I'm Laura Reniker. I'm citizen member.
Doug Cox, Aumsville City Council President.
Dennis Fraser.
Tammy Bennett, citizen.
Joel Samubio Bucio, citizen.
David Keck, citizen member.
Very good. And Carrie online. Hey, Carrie, welcome.
Hi, Carrie Murphy. I'm a citizen member.
All right. We need to elect 26. Not 25, 26. 26, 27 budget office. I would like to open the nominations to nominate for chair and vice chair. Let's do the chair first.
I nominate Katie Wallace.
Second.
Awesome. Katie, can you good?
Sure.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Hey, yeah, thank you. And vice chair. Second,
Perfect.
all righty. Doug, are you good with that? All righty, all those in favor? Any opposed? Perfect.
Only because Katie is dependable and she's.
Done. Katie?
We need a couple of minutes from the meeting of May 13th, 2025. Have a motion?
I will pick up the minutes as presented.
Second.
David.
Aye.
Aye.
We will go to the budget officer Harding for the message and presentation.
So we're just talking about organization of the agenda. So what our plan is I'm not going to read the budget message, but I'll go through that with you. And I'm going to go through and orientate you with the budget book. We're going to give a short demonstration of our forecast model, which is a tool we use for both budgeting and financial planning. And then we'll go ahead and turn it back to the chair. If that's okay with you, we'll do the 2 public hearings, accept public comment, and then close the public hearings. And then we'll, under item number 7 is when we'll go through that line by line, look at the budget. Does that sound okay to the committee? Okay, great. So just to orientate you with our budget manual or budget.
Excuse me, Ron. My hand was up. It's very difficult to hear anyone except for you. If I'm not able to hear, I won't be able to participate in the meeting.
Okay, so
if people can just be aware of where the microphone is when they're talking, then that's great. If that causes an issue, then I'm happy to step out.
No, Carrie, thank you for letting us know on your end. And I see everybody moved microphones closer to themselves, so.
Yeah, we don't know unless you tell us. Thank you.
So just to orientate you with how we prepare our budget, if you open the budget, obviously our committee members' names, who's on the committee, and then we have our budget message, which is all required under budget law. we created this section called Budget Highlights, and that's really intended to give like this really easy read snapshot of various things that are either occurring in this budget or occurred in last fiscal budget as kind of a reporting back to the community. And then we've got some very, we always try to include pictures of the different accomplishments and things. And then some graphs, and then it goes into the budget. So that's really the budget book. As most members know, how our budgets are structured is we have a fund code and an expenditure code, line item code, and those are consistent throughout each fund. So if you're looking at travel training as an example, and it is whatever the fund is plus 612, which is the expenditure code, it's going to be 612 in every fund. So just a little orientation there. And then folks who haven't seen it before, or maybe just because I like to demonstrate it because it's a lot of work for Josh to put together every year, and I'm very proud of it. This is our forecast model. So there's a lot of data in this model. There are like, I don't know, it could be 100 pages for all I know of data that's connected to this. Everything from every expense for an employee, benefits, and how that's cost shared between funds. Whatever the expenses might be throughout the city, they're all in this model. They're all programmed in here. And so what we've done though is we've created the summary table, which is line 1 through 10, just for easy digesting of the public. Basically, you got your beginning cash in your fund, just like you would your balance in your checkbook at home. Total money coming in, which is your revenue. Total expenditures planned to go out or actually went out. And then what's left, and then your ending cash and investments. Now that ending cash becomes your beginning balance for the next year. So that's how that works. And so this is the summary. All the detail is down below, and Josh can just scroll down a little bit so you can kind of see these are all of the various line items. And the nice thing about it is this is what we call the general fund. So if we go back up to the top, Josh, so where we say general fund, we can change this fund just simply by putting the fund code in there. So if he takes and makes 11 out of 10, then automatically that populates the police budget. And if he does 12, then that's going to do water. And so on and so on. Now we have this other tab that we call all. And he can go in there and say all. And now that's every fund collectively across the city. So we can get an overall financial picture. So let's go back to general fund, just as an example. And then now we're going to go over and look at how it's going here so what we do is we program 5 years of actual expenditures. That's not budgeted. That's what we actually spent, what we actually took in. And then we use that historical data to look at a trend going forward. And then as that trend changes, the model will adjust. We can adjust the model for that. But let's go ahead and go the projection going forward, Josh, just to show them. So as you can see, 25, 26, which is we're in 26, 27. So that's projected. Now we haven't completed the year, and our projection is just based on what we think we're going to spend or what we think we're going to get in. And then you get into your forecast. Well, it looks like we've dipped down into the ending cash and investment a little bit. And we'll explain that as we get into the budget. Council's got a number of fairly large expenditures that they want to budget for this year. We're looking at some pretty hefty improvement in some of our park systems. And a lot of the money that comes into the general fund is what we call, they're not true one-time revenues, but they're significant. You wouldn't want to tie a lot of ongoing expenses. So what we tend to do is save up our general fund and then do projects with a lot of that money. So anyway, going forward, it looks good. If Josh takes us out the next 5 years, however, you could see, when you see the little pink, all that indicates is that we're budgeting to be a little bit below our 90-day cash reserve. And if you see, we're only $20,000 below our cash reserve, but then we go back up. Well, that doesn't bother us as long as we're close to that, and especially as far out as it is, because we won't spend all of our general fund money. It just doesn't happen. So we'll make that 20,000, and you can see we're headed back in. Now, if that was red on the end, we'd take a little bit more notice and we'd start making adjustments. Because red would not mean you're below your 90-day, it would mean you're actually planning to go in the negative, and we don't want that. So the nice thing about this is, let's go,
Ron, I have a question. Can I
Sure.
ask? Is that because of the capital projects?
yes, yeah.
And can you tell me what those are? Just.
Well, there's two large expenditures in the general fund that's unusual this year. They're not necessarily unusual, but they're related to projects. Last year, we put in $300,000 from the general funds transfer into the parks. And that was so we could do that Heiberger Park project, and we had a couple of other park projects we were doing. We had a little bit of money left over from that. We're planning another $300,000 transfer this year into that park fund, and we've got a much larger park project that's anticipated. The other thing is, we had an opportunity to purchase. Council approved it last night, so I can actually tell you today, which I'm glad I can. Council approved the purchase of a 3-acre parcel in the middle of our community park that we bought on the east side. There's 23 acres there. And right in the center of that 23 acres was a parcel that was owned by somebody. And we had an opportunity to purchase it. Now, it wasn't planned for, we didn't save up for it. It was an opportunity. And so we're making some of that transfers to help us buy that. Yeah. Oh, sorry.
Thank you.
Did you get that okay, Carrie? I stepped away from the microphone. Okay. I'm a loud talker, but if I get too quiet, you let me know. Okay. So that's just an example. Now, I'm going to go into the police budget just because it's an easy one to show you this next feature from. Let's go into the police budget. The police budget is the only budget that we struggle with because of it's almost all staff. A lot of our other budgets have, programmed equipment repair and different things like that. But the police budget is the majority of that is we're paying for officers and their benefits. And, those things, it's just not because of, necessarily just the cost of the officers, but the cost of insurance, the cost of PERS for an officer, all of that stuff is much higher than just an average employee. So your costs tend to be really difficult to stay on top of. So if you look at the police fund, as we get out into, let's say, 27, 28, we go into the negative. Now that's if we expend all the money. There we go, 27, 28. We're not going to go into the negative in 27, 28, but council's going to have to make some policy decisions. So I only wanted to demonstrate this, not because we're advocating for a policy decision, but I wanted you to see how council can have those conversations with the community and or even themselves to decide directions kind of real time with this model. So we see 27, 28, we see 29, or 28, 29, we know those are negative. Let's go into staffing, Josh, and let's let's eliminate 2 law enforcement positions. Now, I'm not advocating that. I don't want you guys to get worked up. That's not the plan, but I just want to show how the model works. We can go in and basically, this year, eliminate those positions. And then let's see the results. Just like that, there's our results. That's pretty phenomenal. There's not a lot of cities that have the luxury of being able to look at policy decisions. So you can see just by doing that, you're good at least into 2030, 31. Now, we're not advocating that. We can do the same thing by, let's say we said, okay, well, maybe we need another $10 public safety fee. We could add that in here. We could show you the cause and effect of that. Now, we're not going to do that for this exercise. I just wanted you to see this is how we do that, kind of some of that financial planning, and it helps council make decisions with data and not, subjective information. So go ahead.
A question, yeah, so I'm assuming that you're gonna go into the red because you're gonna hire a new police officer, would that be?
Well, so what happened was, police departments, the cost there, it's just the cost of police. They're expensive. And we made a policy decision. We added the public safety fee back in 2017. And at the time, our conversation, the community had a lot of input, and we heard a number of things from the community. One of the things we heard is, what happens is you get this implemented, and then after a year or two, you start jacking this up, right? And so what we did was we looked at a number when we implemented it that would be set for 5 years. And so using the forecast model, we developed that number, which was $12. And we said, okay, well, if all things stay consistent, if we're fully staffed, if, the expenditures occur the way that we think they're going to occur, then this is good for 5 years. Well, it's been much longer than 5 years. Obviously, it's been almost 9 years, right? Almost 10 if you look at next year, if we get through next year. So, and part of that is because, you had an open position for a few months here, or maybe you had some returned expenditures there. And so it's extended that time. And it's a tough conversation because we were having all these other conversations about utility rates and it's a tough conversation for council to have. So it probably would have been, should have been something we worked on last year, the year before, but we're still limping along. There was a time where we thought that interchange development property was ready to construct. And our thought was at the time, we may not have to have this conversation with the community. That may develop, we may get a boost in property tax revenue, and this all may be a mute issue. And that didn't work out. So we are where we are on it, but it was set to be 5 years set. We're 9 years or something like that. So our policy will either be looking at just not filling a position for a while, maybe look at that to get you through another year or two, or it may be look at an increase in fees.
Yeah, just for the record, I mean, I like when the police officers go by my house, right? So
Yeah.
they do their patrol, so it's great. But by looking at the information there, it does look like overall the payroll benefits have increased quite a bit in the last couple of years. Would you be so kind to elaborate on that maybe for?
Yeah, I had that same question as well.
Yeah, we could probably do that. Josh, do you want to go ahead and I think you've got that in a spreadsheet formula somewhere, but I believe it's insurance and PERS increases is most of that. Yeah. Do you have something that shows the increase from the previous years moving forward? Some of that is also, as an example, the cost of insuring an individual officer is one price, which is about maybe a third of the cost of insuring a family. So sometimes what happens is we hire somebody, they're an individual, and then after a year or two, they get married, they've got a career, and then now they're a family rate. And so it triples the cost of the premium. It's not the cost of the insurance is going up every year. But then sometimes you'll also have individual officers that'll add to that because, and we insure the family, but we do save money if it's, if it's an individual, we'll take it, but we do, our benefits are equal for everybody. So, see if we can, oh, there you go. Compensation of benefits. Is that that's compensation and benefits?
Yep, and that's all combined.
Don't you have a breakdown sheet of like insurance rates or?
Yes,
Okay,
it's all in here. So we
Okay.
have the
there we go.
salaries here. Hers, what the contributions would be per
Yeah,
individual.
so, where's the police? There we go. So you can see police PERS is a little bit higher than just admin PERS. So, that does add up over time. And
So is that the percentage of the contribution of the city to the retirement plan for the individual?
yeah. So in PERS, there's a employer obligated portion, and then there's an employee obligated portion. Most cities do this, and since I was here, the city paid the employer portion, which was like 6%.
Okay.
But we still have to pay the employer portion regardless. And that's what it is total, I believe, the 34.28%.
Yeah.
Is the total.
Including the 6%.
And we don't have control, that's the state.
Okay. So just for me to understand, so for instance, the 60,637, that would be the first retirement plan for the chief?
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. And insurance rates have been going up.
Okay.
The workman's comp rates, I think, have been going up, right?
Yeah,
Let's look at that.
insurance went up about 9.4% overall.
Yep.
Workers' comp actually has not been too bad. They're only going up like, actually we had a bit of a rate reduction because our experience rating went down.
Oh,
So
okay.
that helped.
So that helped a little bit. But it's not, workman comp isn't an exorbitant expense, but there is an expense. But you add all those things up.
Okay, yeah,
Dental and dental is-
thank you.
Dental.
Mhm.
Yeah. There has been years in the last 5 or 6 years since we implemented the public safety fee, we've had between 10 and 20% insurance premiums for insurance coverage, and we've had large increases in PERS. The state revamped their PERS system. We didn't calculate all of that in at the beginning, so it's just one of those things that's catching up with us now. All right, if you're good with that, I'll go ahead and let you do your public hearings, and then we'll get into the line by line, and if you got more questions, we'll look at that. So I'll turn it back over to the chair. And the main thing, Chair, is when you open the public hearing, is just announce the time, open and close.
All right, so I would like to, public hearing for the fiscal year 2026-2027 budget is now open at 7:25 PM. Do we have any public comment, or has any public comment been received by staff?
We have not received any public comment, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Is there anybody online?
No.
Oh. I close this then?
Well, there's no public comment. So, yes, you would close it.
Okay. Carrie, can you hear me? Okay. At this point, we will close the public hearing at 7:25 PM.
And the requirement to have this hearing period for the public is just to make sure we're giving the public an opportunity to speak, so.
Okay.
It seems a little awkward if there's nobody here, but
So we move on to state revenue sharing. Open the public hearing for the fiscal year 2026-27 state revenue sharing funds is now open at 7:26 p.m. The Budget Committee will take public comment on possible uses for state revenue sharing money. Any visitor who wishes to comment can request to be acknowledged. We have also taken written testimony leading up to the meeting date, which will be considered and entered into public records.
We still have no visitors online, and I still have not received any physical written comments.
At this point, we will close the public hearing at 7:26 p.m. And we move on to review and revise the budget document. That would be Ron.
excellent. All right, well, now we're gonna get into the line by line details about the budget. And you've got your budget book, but we also have it up here on the screen. I tend to like to work from the screen because I like it blown up and I'm close to it, so it works better for me. And so typically as we go through those, you're welcome to ask questions about anything that you would like. For what we've found though, is if we're not changing a budget appropriation, we typically just skip those. We typically just hit the ones that we're changing. However, in your book, if you see something that you have a question, we're happy to talk about that. For now, I will follow the looking at changes. And then you guys let me know if you need to stop me. So the first tab right here is going to be all of our revenue resources. So we're working from the general fund budget here. Fund 10 is general fund. And these are, we have a lot of history on most of these revenue streams. So a lot of them are franchise agreements, different things that we do, lease payments, and we know what the revenue is pretty much going to be within a few $1,000s. So these are fairly easy to calculate. So we're fairly confident in the revenue coming in. The only one that is a little bit of a moving target is the property tax, which is 415 right there. And so we are using the state anticipated property tax number with a 3%. I think we use a 3% escalator. We anticipate a 3% escalator in the forecast. However, the amount that you collect is usually less than that. So for the transfer into the police department, we minus 5%. The state says use a 94 percentile. We use a 95 percentile because for some reason it's consistently 95% usually for us. So that's what we use. Other than that, all of those are pretty much fairly consistent and predictable.
Terry has.
Before you move on,
Yeah.
I don't know how you want me to ask questions. Do you want me to keep putting it in chat or raise my hand or just open my mouth?
You know, I mean, for me, because I'm not constantly looking at all of the various things, I just assume you speak up. I'm happy with that if you're okay.
Yeah, I don't want to be a bother.
No, you got it. This is your show. I'm just
Thank you, Ron. I have a question on lines 8 and 9, the communication franchise fees and the cable TV franchise.
okay.
Both of which went up significantly. Can we hear about the why behind that?
Well, I mean, I want to be management. We've been managing these contracts to try to hold some of the franchises a little bit more true to the terms of the contract. And so we saw some fairly significant increases. Franchises are, I mean, we could probably have a 3 or 4 hour meeting just on franchises, but they're usually very large corporations, and it's not like we get to go to their their corporation and like say, give me your books. But we can use the terms of the contracts to try to increase those. And then some of our contracts that went through renewals on various leases. You'll see a bump in revenue on some of our leases for the same reason. We renegotiated leases at a little higher terms or there's various reasons why those went up a little bit. But we think based on where we are, those are holding true.
So I'm a little confused by that. And I heard what you said,
Yeah.
but like on, so you're saying that it's holding true that we are spending more money in order to meet their needs? Is that what I heard?
No, this is a revenue. So we're actually capturing more money than we anticipated. So this is a revenue, not an expenditure.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah. All right. So there's all your revenues. Let's go down to expenditures. Now, we typically don't get into a big discussion about payroll. It's all set by the salaries that is set. You know, there's not a lot of discussion to have there. We had the discussion about benefits. We're happy to do more of that if you have more, but let's go down into municipal court. You could see our adopted budget is the same. We're just going to go down through that list till I see a change. There is a change on printing and publishing. Rates went up a little bit. So we added a few thousand to that. We actually, travel training, I think we put that, we dropped travel training just a little bit. I don't know if that was intentional, but that's fine. I think we weren't necessarily using all of that. I think we anticipated all of our council would go to like, there's a league conference of cities conferences. And so we planned for that, but consistently we haven't had everybody go. So we dropped that a little bit. The telecommunications. So we got new phones the year before last, IP phones, and we didn't actually know what that, we were worried that there was going to be some unrecognized costs with those, and it turns out there wasn't. And so we budgeted a little bit more for telecommunications, but we're comfortable now that that's the last year went by. We haven't really been spending it. So we actually reduced that a little bit. And then the big one there is consultant and professional services. The only thing that we did there is a line called comprehensive plan update. And you see last year we budgeted 20,000. And we typically do budget 20,000. What we thought would be better is to go ahead and move that 20,000 with this consultation professional services, because not every year we need a comprehensive plan update. Sometimes we need a buildable land inventory analysis. Sometimes we need trying to think of all the things that we do, a development code update. There's these different things that we would typically take out of that professional line item. And rather than to call it out as a comprehensive plan update, which you don't necessarily have to do unless there is a requirement from the state, the council wants to make a change, or there's some development application that triggers it. And so we just don't do those that often. So we moved it into professional services. Otherwise, nothing's changed from a dollar amount. This budget's actually reduced a little bit. Building maintenance, we did increase that a little bit because our building is now almost 20 years old and it's starting to need some maintenance. So we actually have another action later where we're doing a transfer from various funds into a building reserve line, because one of the things that we have on top of our building, I think there's 7 heat pump units, and they're about $15,000 a piece, and they had a 15-year life expectancy, and we're beyond that. And so our concern is what happens if 3 or 4 of them go out at once? So you plan ahead for these things so you don't have a $100,000 expenditure. So we're moving a little bit each. We're going to move a little bit each year into a reserve line there's a reserve fund we'll show you in a little bit. Otherwise, those are all about the same. Now, when you get down to Corn Festival expenses, those are just intended to pay the Corn Festival based on whatever it costs to do it, but we make money from the Corn Festival. Equipment staying the same, beautification improvements are staying the same. We have a building maintenance line item and we have a building improvement line item there. As you can see, we don't always spend that money, but one year we had to do the brick on the side of the building were collapsing and they were getting moisture in there and it was like a $40,000 project to fix it. So we need to keep that in place. And then where you see capital projects at the bottom, that $200,000, that's money that we set aside. We don't spend it until council gives us direction to spend it, but it's intended to either meet one of the council goals or to go towards, usually a council goal is a project like a park project. So it's intended to give them the flexibility. Depending on what happens with some of this property purchase and some of our grant applications, we could have pretty significant park expenses this year because we've got an opportunity to do some pretty large improvements. So, and that's really it for general fund. If you guys have any question, the general fund transfer out to the police, that's the property tax line item. We take the property tax in, we minus 5% because we probably won't collect that 5%, and then that goes to police. And then to your park fund, that's that transfer we alluded to earlier. Now, moving forward, we've lowered that transfer down because we're doing some capital projects now. In the past, we usually would transfer about 60,000 to keep the park operation fund up, and we're going back to that 60,000 after this year in our projection. Now, as we save up money somewhere in the future, there'll be other park projects. And then this city reserve fund, remember I was telling you about the units and we got to save up some money. So that's what we're transferring out of this fund. You'll see a transfer out of several of the operating funds into there. And I think we did enough this year that if we had one unit go out, we could replace it with that fund. So, and then we have our contingency, our operating contingency, which by laws, I think 15% of the expenditures. And then the reserve for future expenditures is your balancing number. That's what balances your account out. So, any questions about general fund? All right.
I do have a question. Are you able to transfer funds from the general fund to, let's say, the water or sewage fund, or no?
I think we could,
Okay.
but it wouldn't be a very sound financial practice for us to do that, because the general fund is one-time money. And if you're transferring it to an ongoing expense, then you're going to set yourself up for a deficit. So how we would do that is in that $200,000 that council sets for goals and projects. In the past, that has been it could be buying into a part of a water project. I think we bought into part of a emergency generator. We needed some match money for the water tower. But from an operational standpoint, it wouldn't be good practice. I don't think most people would do it. I don't think it would violate state law, but it just wouldn't be a customary thing to do. Yeah. All right. So we're going to go into the police fund. And the police fund revenues, into the police fund, there we go. Police fund revenues are pretty consistent. They don't really change. The lion's share of the revenue comes from the general fund. The rest of it are, we get, little things that we do, but there's just not, the dollar amounts are really small, other than the public safety fee, which is the next dollar amount there.
So I'm seeing that you're eliminated the line item for the vest.
I don't think we're supposed to eliminate that. I think we're actually,
There was a holistic vest grant.
I thought we were putting in money into the.
Or 11.
Vest for a grant this year.
We haven't bought this year.
Proposed by the budget officer, but
We gotta buy the vest before we can claim any grant money. So if we aren't buying vests, then.
It's a reimbursement.
Yeah.
it's a reimbursement, but we don't plan to buy vests in 26, 27.
Depends on if we hire anybody.
Okay, I think we probably need a dollar more in there, Josh. You and I may have,
That sounds very reasonable to me.
yeah,
Kind of noticed that was like,
Yeah.
oh, why is
that was a
that?
good catch. I didn't notice that we.
Score.
I don't know, but there's a grant that we qualify for, and I know it's up this year. So do we put $1,500 in there? Would you guys be okay with that? We won't spend it unless we need it, but
How much is one vest typically?
$300 sound right? $400?
15 to
$2,000?
just a vest and a carrier.
That's
Yeah,
expensive.
that's what I thought.
Well, maybe we need
Expensive.
$2,000.
Half of that.
I think the idea is to save our cops from,
Yeah. Let's put 2,000 in there if you're okay. I mean, a one-time expense if we have it is not the issue. Oh, that's resources coming in. Okay.
yeah,
I'm
no,
sorry.
I'm sorry, not spending, but yeah.
Yeah, that's resources coming in. So, I'm less concerned about that.
Yeah.
Yeah, let's keep that. Let's go down to
We need
expenditures.
to go to, yeah.
I'm sorry. I got
Yeah, I'm sorry about the confusion.
Right
uniform.
here, we got 3,500.
Okay, there we go. Ballistic vest 35. I knew you and I put a dollar amount in there.
Yeah.
Oh,
We just did count for the revenue, but if we qualify for the grant, it'll go into the fund. Yeah. Thank you for helping to sort that out. Let's go back up to the top to the expenditures. Just below wages, there we go. So if we look at that, we're leaving everything the same. If we get down to dispatch records management, we believe, it hasn't actually happened yet, but we believe that there's gonna be a reduction in dispatch fees. The board has recalculated some of their formulas and they've approved them, they just haven't officially adopted them yet. And so we went ahead and lowered that a little bit. We're getting about, I think, a $34,000 reduction in dispatch fees. Typically, they're just going up, but now they're going down, so we're gonna put the savings in there. Telecommunications, the same thing, we lowered that in everybody's line items because our true costs now of all those things have come down. It's more in the police department because they've got telephones and different things like that, but it's less than our expected. Oops.
How many?
Which-
Ron? How many police do we have?
We have 7 approved. Right now we have 6 positions filled and we're working on the 7th. But that's a very common, sometimes we're fully staffed and then other times somebody will leave and, for whatever reason. And we bounce between 5 and 7. One of the reasons why the safety fee has lasted so long is because there's not always somebody in those positions. Everything else is stayed equal. If you get down to where radio repairs are, we've taken that out because we're gonna sign on to a county radio program, and that's incorporated in the budget. They provide the radios. They're their radios. We just pay a monthly fee, and so we don't have that expense. Otherwise, everything else there is the same. Dues and fees, we did trim those a little bit. Again, we're trying to tighten the budget up whenever we can. Community programs, we added a little bit to that. That's things like National Night Out, or we do toy drives and different things like that. And there's some expenses that go with that. A lot of times we get donations and grants that counter those expenses, but we still have to spend them. And then IT services, ballistic vest, there's the money, great. Let's go down.
Okay, we're good.
We're good. And then all of those are the same, building improvements, the weapons system, we put that in there. Last year, we actually did we did get refresh our weapons. And we traded some old weapons in and did some different stuff, but if we get a new officer in, you know, we've got to buy them all service equipment. And then where you see radios here, this is that program. We put in 20,000 as a placeholder last year. We didn't actually enter the program. We know the cost is closer to 12, so that's what we put in. It was a new program, so we didn't have a true cost, and we had to throw a number in there. And I think that's it. There should be transfer out here, vehicle replacement. We will plan to buy a new car this year. We have to, you run the miles up on those cars so quickly. You have to have a fairly robust replacement program. And our fleet is as new as it's ever been. Don't get me wrong, but we need to keep adding to it. Otherwise you start to elevate those miles quick on the cars, so spread them out a little bit. And that city reserve, that's for that building reserve that we talked about. So otherwise, we're back to operating contingency and your reserve for future expenditures, if there is any. There isn't any in this fund. So any questions? All right. We're going to go to water. Again, with revenues with water, it's mostly collection fees. So there's very, very few. We get interest, shared interest from the city's bank accounts, and the interest is calculated based on the amount of money that we have in each of those accounts. So we put that right back in. So that first interest line item, when I first got here in 2017, the interest rate was like 0.04%, or it wasn't even 0.5%. And we were getting like $2,000 or $3,000. We've been fortunate. Our revenue stream in from interest in our investment pool has actually been pretty good the last few years, and that's helped benefit us as well. Right now it's a little lower. I think it's what, 3 or 4? It's less than 4.
Yeah, I think it's like 3.7.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's still pretty good, but it was up to, I mean, I think we were pushing 5 or 6 at one point, weren't we?
Briefly, yeah.
Yeah, yeah. You're like, ooh, I like that. That's a, you know, it's a lot. Good revenue stream there. So that's basically it. It's mostly collection fees. So let's go down to expenditures. And again, our formula is the same. It's been the same year after year, other than dues and fees. We adjusted those a few $100s. Energy costs has went up, so we did readjust the energy cost a little bit. Other than that, we did lower telecommunications. Again, we found that our expected cost with our new system and what we actually are spending is a lot less. So that worked out good. Customer assistance program. So that's just to help out people, utility customers. It's a contract we have. If somebody, you know, has a life event, they can apply to this company and they'll help them with, it's a one-time assistance. It's not a discount program, it's just an assistance program. And you'll see that in sewer. It's a new program we started this year. Consulting fees, we left that the same. Everything else in that category is the same. We didn't change any of those. And there's times you'll look at something and you'll say, well, you put in $5,000, but you only spent $100. And that may be true, but the way that we have to budget is if $5,000 would be a reasonable amount on, you know, the bad year, something breaks down or we need a piece of equipment that costs $5,000, that's where we spend it. We don't spend it just because it's there. So, but if we don't have it appropriated, we can't fix it or buy it as it's needed. But I think that's it on that one, right, Josh? Then you go down into we got our transfers. Those are all consistent with what we normally do. And all of our operating funds have like a central service fund. So things like the operations of buildings and major office equipment. So they all transfer into those software that we buy packages. So water improvement fund, we've been transferring 150,000 into that, and that is a capital fund only to do water projects. And so we'll show you that in a minute as we get to that fund. But we had been doing $100,000. We had some pretty major water improvement projects planned, so we bumped it up. We really need to keep it. We really need to bump it up to double that amount because we've got some major water expenses, but we're not there yet. We're still working on how we can fund those in alternative methods, but and then same thing, you've got your reserve for future expenditures and your contingency, but these are all consistent with what we do. The Public Works Equipment Fund, that number we programmed in future years to drop. That was, we were building the Public Works shop building, and we know we've got some pretty expensive equipment that we're gonna have to replace for Public Works. But when we get to the Public Works Fund, you'll see that we've got some money in there, so we're gonna drop that moving forward just to try to ease some of the pressure on utility rates. All right. I think that's the water fund. Do you have any questions? Okay, let's go to sewer. We are right on track, by the way. I know it seems like a lot of information and a long meeting, but we're moving right along.
Keep going.
Okay,
Just keep going. Just keep going.
great. Sewer fund, here we go. So you can see it's mostly rates. Your available, your beginning cash, and then your rates. And that's pretty much it. We get an interest, and there's a few fees that we get here and there, but it's pretty minimum. So that's your sewer fund. So let's go down to expenditures. Now the sewer fund looks pretty good and it looks pretty healthy because we had that big $34 increase for the debt that we had to assume. And so it looks really good, even if you look at the projection moving forward into future years. The debt's programmed in there. What we don't have programmed in there is increased O&M. But we don't really have to do anything but continue the program right now with sewer. You know, we've done everything we need to do with the sewer program. So again, you can see the expenditures are largely the same. There really isn't any differences there. We did lower telecommunications like we did with all the funds. And then the utility assistant program, we added that 5,000. But if you go down, we're pretty much, there's nothing that's changed there. Replacement of equipment, all of that stayed the same. This is the debt. Actually, other than the public safety building, which we think we'll be able to pay down early, the only debt the city currently has, now we got to do the sewer debt, but currently we don't have that until the sewer plant's built, is just this debt fund. So the city's in a great position from revenue debt ratio. We really, even when we do the sewer project, we're still in a good debt ratio position, so. It's not a problem for the city to take on debt if that's the way that they decided to do it, so we're doing really good there, but that's that loan payment, we've had that for years. And then if you go down to the transfers out, I want to explain 859 a little bit, because that one may catch your eye. Last year, we have what's called, so you've got your operating funds, which is your water sewer. And then in all of your utilities, you have a capital improvement fund, water sewer. And so as part of guaranteeing our loan, we had to secure a 1-year payment of $366,000 in a reserve line item. So we had to increase rates last year. We put that into that reserve transfer, that 400,000. Normally what we're transferring into the improvement fund are just capital projects. So we put some money in there to help with the sewer build, because the city has a $2 million match. And then we've lowered that back down to the $100,000. So, so if there's additional money in there, it'll all get spent towards the treatment facility, because it's an improvement fund. It can only be spent for building sewer projects. So we shifted that around a little bit, but if there's any money left over, it'll go right to the build, and then that'll come off the debt end. So other than that, I think if we go down, is there some contingency? Is there anything else down below that? Yeah, just operating contingency.
Debt service reserve.
Okay, yeah, we moved the debt reserve line item there. I think we had 9 different grants. And as we were approaching all of these different grants that we got for both water and sewer, we were trying to figure out how to manage and organize those to account for. Who had a question?
Yes, Ron, say that again. What is a debt service for? You touched on that, but I was focusing on other information
So
here.
we moved the 400,000 into the capital improvement fund because we got money. And when we did it, we just wanted to set aside the reserve that we needed to get the loan. We had to show to get approval for the loan, we had to show that we had $366,000 in a line item. Right? So we moved it in there. That is also the funding we'll show you. It's the fund that does all the construction for all the projects that we're doing. And that the debt will cover the projects that we can't fund. But then this year, what we decided is that debt needs to live, both the debt payment and the reserve needs to live in the operating fund, not in the construction fund. We put it in there because we wanted to separate it to show to get the loan. So the money that's in the construction fund is the money we would pay for construction. So it's not going anywhere but back into the project. We just changed the line items from one fund to the other. So, yeah, we also put in the debt. If you look, I think we'd have to do the forecast model, but if you look going in future years, 28, 29, we start programming in the interest payment and the capital payment on the $9 million loan that we get. We will use all of the $9 million loan because the $9 million loan has to be spent before the $6 million grant that goes with it. And so if we have any cost savings, and I'm not saying we will, but if we have any cost savings, it comes from the grant, not from the loan.
Question, is that loan acquired? How is that loan acquired? Is it just?
It's USDA, it's government loan.
Okay.
And we got the $6 million grant and a special interest rate because we were able to show at the time of applying that our community was a marginalized community. In the current census, we're no longer meeting those qualifications, but we applied before that census took effect. government finance circles. So we were trying to do this kind of shell game to qualify and get all of the grants that we could, and that's why there's a little movement of money here, but we did get the qualification, we did get the grant. We may spend all of that grant money and then some, we don't know because it's not out to bid yet, but so far, each phase that we've done has come in under our expectation, under our budgeted plan. For each phase. So far, we've been saving quite a little bit of money from where we thought. With the price of fuel today, it's just all about the climate of when you're out bidding, how much competition there is, who's hungry, or, who's not. So we do kind of think the construction phase will be maybe not as hopefully, but we don't know. So we'll see when we get there. But this fund is good. If we go back to the forecast model, we won't do it, but we can do it if you want to. It looks great moving forward. Any questions on that? You can see our cash on hand is pretty healthy, so. Okay. No questions? All right. Street fund. Now we starting to get into the smaller funds. They'll go a lot faster. Street fund, which is Fund 14. It is a dedicated fund, so it's a special purpose fund. We can only spend it for street related projects. We get a little bit of interest and some various fees. Occasionally we'll apply for what's called a small city allotment grant. We'll do a project with that money. So what we typically do with this is there's some operating cost. There's some wages that should come out of here because our people have to be we can't spend money out of one fund if they're doing work in another. So if they actually are doing street work, they have to get a kind of proportionate share of their wages from each of those funds. But we typically save up enough money every couple of years if we can get a grant to do a pretty good street project in the city. So if we go down to the main revenue coming in is highway tax share dollars. They're talking about doing something different with that formula, but I don't think it passed, right? They didn't do it.
You don't have it yet.
Okay. But anyway, who knows what'll happen with that. So we go down into supplies. We've left all of those the same. I don't see any changes there.
So would that proposed change be,
Communications.
sorry, would that proposed change be for the better or for worse?
Both.
If they change the,
I think both. I think they.
One.
good answer.
They
Little
dangled
bit may go down, one part may go up.
Oh,
They
okay.
dangled a carrot out there for this proposed referendum that's out related to ODOT funding. But there's also some different formulated bills that I think they were either working on or they may even have passed that would change the allocation that we get, lowered it. So
Part's federal, one part state.
So overall, we're not looking at a big impact.
we're not gonna make any changes until we see a
Okay.
change, so. Yeah. Telecommunications, that's down. Otherwise, we'll just keep going down past 806 there, Josh. So we went ahead and put $500,000 into street improvements. We didn't program getting a grant in this one. If we get the grant, we'll probably recommend the street improvement. If we don't get the grant, I'm not sure. We could do one, but we may or may not do one. It would just be up to council, so. We like to get grants and try to leverage our dollars to match when we can because it extends the dollars that the community is spending, so. Our public works fund, that transfer, that stays consistent. That's their share of operating those backhoes, factor trucks, all that stuff. Vehicle replacement fund, we've kept that consistent over the years. We're doing pretty good in that fund right now because we did get a grant to get 2 trucks last year. And then operating contingency and reserve for future expenditures. So we balance that fund out. There we go. Any questions about that one?
A quick question, the operating contingency is just in case, and a little bit more money, right?
Yeah, and contingency always has to come back to the council. So, I don't know if we've ever touched contingency, but we're required to put a 15% contingency there. But typically, yes, it would come back, if there was some issue. We would have to overspend the entire fund,
Okay, and then go into.
and then we would look to appropriate the contingency. The only time I would see that really occurring in any of these operating funds, if there was like a major project that, came up that we didn't have money for, a project that went into cost overrun and wasn't anticipated. But it's probably a rare occurrence that would occur. Do you remember us ever doing an appropriation out of contingency?
Yeah,
I think it's been like
trees and stuff.
9 or 10 years.
9 or 10 years ago? Yeah, it's pretty rare. Okay. We're into park. And then park revenue is straightforward. It's the same. We cash on hand. Most of the money in the park comes from that state revenue share. It's usually around $50,000. We're thinking about 48 this year. And then if we get a grant, sometimes we will program a grant into our budget if we're really confident that we're going to get it, but we're better not to program it in because state budget law allows you to alter the budget if you get unexpected grants, is one of the exemptions from state budget law. So rather than to put it in there and then plan to spend the money, I'd rather not put it in there, budget to spend the money, but not spend it unless we get the grant, because it's easy to make a revenue adjustment versus an expenditure. Otherwise, revenues are minor. Let's go down. And then there's your expenditures. They're consistent. Telecommunications, we obviously. Am I looking at that wrong, Josh? Let me look. Do we have telecommunications at 5?
Yes.
Okay, well, we're not gonna spend that. We don't need to change it unless the committee wants to change it, but.
What would that be for?
It's for
Telecommunications?
phones.
Just for regular desk phone?
Phones, and I think we have internet services, in the parks and things like that, but I don't think 5 is, I think 5 would be a high number, but. We can leave it in there, we're not going to spend those with it, but it's up to you. Everything else looks consistent. Leased property taxes, that did go up a little bit. If you look at their site improvements, 600,000, that's the big park project that we were talking about. So we weren't anticipating buying this property. We're actually anticipating doing a major park renovation. So we're going to have to work our way through what that looks like now. We may have to pare that down or go out and get a loan or something like that. So
They bought the 3 acres
it's 3 acres, a house and a shop. Yeah.
for.
Well, I hate to throw a number out there. Council approved a purchase price of 640, but until you go through your due diligence period, we don't know. But yeah. And then that's about it. You got your transfers out, which are pretty minor into the park budget, and then your contingency.
So we don't need that 5,000 somewhere else?
We don't need it. It'll just be an ending fund balance. Yeah, it'll just roll over. Yeah. All right, let's go on to the next one, which is Public Works Equipment Fund. So Public Works Equipment Fund is mostly funded by transfers in, as you can see. We plan to have a hefty balance in here, but we have some pretty hefty equipment needs. We had built this up to try to pay the Public Works shop loan off early, and we will do that, but we will pay some additional debt into there, but I wanna keep more into this fund because backhoes are extremely expensive. Ours is. I wish I had somebody from Public Works here, because I hate to guess, but it's probably 30 or 40 years old. When you say, Walter, you know about that kind of stuff. Those are
Time.
$475,000. We probably won't buy a new one. We'll try to get a used one. But there's some heavy equipment needs that we're gonna have to purchase. But other than that, it's a fairly simple fund. Your transfers coming in. In these capital funds, you'll see that we put a little bit in for repairs and things like that. But for the most part, when we budget to expend all of these. And that's something we started to do several years ago. And the reason why we started to do that several years ago is we don't know when the backhoe is going to break down. We don't want to buy something unless it's, we've expended as much useful life as we can get out of something. So that's why we do that. Or, a Vector truck, $650,000 for a new Vector truck. We bought one for 80 that's used. I mean, we've gotten several years out of it. And it was a good used truck, but that thing could, at any moment, you just never know. They're old heavy equipment that you use as much as you can.
Ron, I have a,
Maintenance intensive.
They are maintenance.
They need a lot of upkeep.
so quick question, and this not only relates to this fund, but the others, the earnings from temp investments, is it usually short-term CDs that you guys invest the money in, or?
We have a state investment pool.
Okay.
That we put money into, that it's pretty much all cities have a joint state investment pool.
Oh, okay.
So it's like one large account and we can transfer money in and out anytime we want. But it accrues based on their interest rate, which is always better than the bank CD
Okay.
rate.
Is it like run by the state treasury or?
Yeah.
Yeah.
LGIP. Yeah. Local government
Investment.
investment pool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And we used to have CDs. That was one of the things Josh and I, when we were doing financial planning and investing for the city, we changed because we were getting I don't even know if we were getting enough to cover fees for our CD at the time. It was pretty low. And we're like, okay, well, that's not a good return on our investment. I mean, we used to get, like I said, it was a few $100s, maybe a couple $1,000s out of all our investments. And consistently, if you look at all of our investments together, we're probably getting a couple $100,000 a year in interest investment. Would you say that's pretty close?
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's pretty good.
yeah. So when you think about that revenue stream, to divide, you got to divide it between all the funds by law, but when you think about that, that's collectively pretty good revenue for the city, so. And it's just a way you manage the money versus,
And it's liquid, so you can put
Yeah.
money, take money. That's pretty
Yeah.
good.
yeah. As long as it's in there, we get the interest, and when we take it out, then we spend it.
Yeah,
We don't
because
get
if you
the
put it
interest.
into the CD, it's locked, so.
All right, the next fund, which is public, no, sewer improvement, right? There we go. So this is the one that all of the major sewer construction dollars will come from. And if you look at that, the beginning fund balance there, that we think we're gonna have, that includes that 400,000 that we brought in last year. I was telling you, we wanted to account for that, right? And then your earnings on interest. This one actually is pretty good because there's a lot of money planned to go in there, and there has been. And then you look at these different items here. These are grants that we haven't currently expended, but we have available to us. Now, that's not money the city has, so that's not in our investment pool. They're grants that are managed by outside agencies, and they're reimbursement grants. So we have to have a certain amount of money to be able to pay an expense and then apply for the reimbursement for these grants. So we're gonna manage 18, 24, about $26 million worth of grants going in and out with $1.7 million. It's gonna be tricky. And I keep saying this to council, it's gonna be tricky, but we think we've got a plan to be able to manage that in and out and pay the contractors. Some of that is through the way that we've written our contracts. And then some of it is through just discussions with, we've got a great stakeholders group from each of these agencies. A lot of them are the leaders, the directors or, department directors or something in these agencies. And they've committed to us that they're gonna, we're gonna try to have like a turnaround time where we do multiple approvals simultaneously. So they may put it into processing, but then at the same time, they're working on the approval. So you're not waiting for the approval, then putting it into processing. So we think we've got a good plan if everybody does what they're gonna do. So we're accounting for that money to come in because if we have to expend it this year, most likely we will not expend all of this, but I think we're gonna actually expend a good portion of it. So that's all of the grants that are left for just the sewer, what you see listed there. So there you go, $27 million in there to complete this project, or available to us at some point. We go down, we've got, we always have to have in this capital, because even though we're getting this new facility built, remember the old facility is still operating and it will continue to operate. We're not eliminating the old facility, we're just enhancing the operation. So we still got repairs and different things like that. All right. We've got a few material expenses in there, inflow and infiltration. I don't know if all of you know what that is, but we have a lot of high groundwater. Your sewer pipes are not pressurized, they're just fitted with seals. And what happens is in most of Oregon, it's most of the Pacific Northwest, is you get groundwater builds up in the high rain events, and then you get rain, and that pressure forces water into the pipes. And then the other thing that you have happen is just when you get all this rain collected, we don't have a big stormwater catch basin somewhere that takes all of the stormwater. We've got separate systems, but a lot of that rainwater ends up going into the sewer system through various means other than the pipes. And that's what we call inflow and infiltration. The problem with that is it increases your operating cost for the sewer plant. So you're always trying to look for ways to reduce that through various means. So we have that in there, a little engineering, although most of our project engineering is accounted for in the project. We always have a line item for engineering because there's stuff that pops up that might not be related to the project.
Back to the rainwater, excuse me.
Yeah.
The rainwater and sewer water, are they two separate systems? So are sewer pipes separate from the rainwater pipes? In the old days, they ran it all together in some.
Yeah, they're different, but you get a cross of inflow into the sewer system, and that's what we're treating
the same.
as. Yeah,
I just want to make sure they were different systems.
there are different systems. They're closed systems, but you get infiltration. And then just as an example, our ponds out by the freeway that you can see.
Yeah.
I think there's 14 acres of ponds there. So you got a lot of surface area. And when it rains, you collect a lot of water. That's all infiltration. And it's gotta be treated. But what we're talking about here is trying to keep water out of the sewer pipes. So we'll do like camera inspections. Oftentimes tree roots will grow in there that will force more water into a crack or something. That's what we're talking about here. And there's this is a problem across the United States, and I could diverge into all of the crazy stuff, but there's so many different companies developing new innovative ways. There's one company back east. I don't know why they haven't tried it out here, but they basically inject a substance into the line that looks like inflating a very long balloon. And then it hardens on the inside and creates a new sealed cavity. And there's all kinds of crazy stuff they've got.
Cured in place plastic.
Huh?
It's called cured in place plastic.
Yeah, cured in place. That's right. Do they use it around here much? I haven't
I've used it.
You have used it,
Yeah.
okay. Yeah. Yeah,
Expensive.
lots of stuff. I'm sure it's all expensive though. All right, so if we continue to go down that list, Marion County, that grant we've closed out this year, so that's not moving forward. The ARPA dollars, those were the direct allocated money through the federal government, and that's tied to a contract, which we had to, as part of the program, tie that to a contract. And it has to be expended before December. So we need to make sure.
We're this close.
We need to make sure they're ready to get their money. Otherwise we lose it. And so there's your expenditures. We had them on the revenue side. Now you see them on the expenditure side. And then you see this where that debt reserve was, we took that out. That's now in the operating fund. So we just put that in the capital and we just did a switch. That's all we did. All right, let's go to the next fund. Vehicle replacement fund. We transfer from all the funds money. Vehicles are getting crazy expensive, especially police vehicles, but it's just the nature. They just cost a lot of, vehicles cost a lot of money, and then you add a bar and a cage and, you know, drives the cost up. But we're doing pretty good on public works vehicles because we got those 2 grants. So we're a little bit ahead there. And then if we go down to the expenditures, Josh. There you go. You could see if we do the transfer this year, there's enough to buy a police car. And so the plan will be to get a police car sometime toward the end of the year. That's our joint account there. So now we're into the city reserve fund. This fund has been set up for a long time, and we hadn't really used it a lot. There was a little bit of money in there when we had like a storm, like we had that ice storm that we had to do cleanup and stuff from. We ended up drawing money from here and then reimbursing it back when we got money from FEMA. But we did start to transfer in for, you can see those numbers amount for the building capital improvements. And then if you go down, that's the money coming in. If you go down, you can see the various allocations. And what we decided to do is we decided to just break this out into, there we go. We decided to break this down into basically emergency, which is that 55,000. That's the money that historically has been in this fund. We had some extra money from our corn festival proceeds, and council wanted to set that aside for events, different things that might have happened. Like, let's say we have a bad year, we still want to fund those service groups at the same level, so they're getting consistent money. So we put it in here. That way council could track it. So there was $10,000 we put in there for that purpose. And then you see the building maintenance. So after this year's budget, we'll have $22,000 in there, a little bit more than the cost of one of those units, but we need to build that up a little bit. I don't know that we'll have to replace a unit this year, but most likely when it'll happen, we'll have to replace like 2 at a time or something. They're somewhat interconnected into the same system. So other than that, that's this fund. Even though you're approving it here, we have an internal policy where staff cannot touch this fund without prior council approval for any reason. So that was a long-standing policy. All right, water system 24. You doing okay, Carrie? Okay. Water system improvements. This is the water capital fund. Again, this money can only be spent for water projects. You can see the revenue coming in. Now, when you see what we say 420 water SDCs, that's a hypothetical number. We put a number in there every year thinking that somebody's going to come in with a big apartment complex and get a permit. Oftentimes that doesn't happen. And it's just a placeholder. If we got that money in, great, we would spend it, but we're not necessarily, sorry, this is system development charge, not water capital. So system development charges are the monies that come in through new development. And so, somebody builds a house, they have a system development impact on water, transportation, roads, parks. So they have to pay a system development charge fee. So that's what this is. It can only be spent on capital for that system that's on our approved list in the proportionate share of their impact. And that sounds complicated, and it is. There's a lot of state laws that regulate this, but basically what we have is we have capital improvement plans. Those capital improvement plans have projects listed out. Each of those projects are engineered and analyzed for what proportion of that project belongs to the public's purview and what portion of that project belongs to new growth. So when we have new growth in the city, they have to basically buy into the system is what they're doing. They're buying into their share of their impact to those projects. So back to what I was saying, so we put that hypothetical number in there. We actually think this could be the year we get one of those large applications. We've been working on one for a few years. If we do, we'll have total resources to expend, and then new system improvements, we budget to spend them. Yeah.
Say what that application is.
We have I can, because it's approved, I can talk about it. We have about 110 unit apartment complex that was approved off of 11th Street. And it's been approved before a number of times, but they've scaled it down and reconfigured it. And so new people have purchased it. We're pretty confident that they're actually going to come in and do something with it this year.
It says you turn onto 11th on the.
That big
Left?
field behind
Yeah.
Porter Boone Park. Yeah. Yeah.
So you think they're gonna start this year?
We're pretty confident that they might start this year. It's as close as I've seen that project get.
And then that would generate that
Yeah,
40-ish thousand dollars.
200 and something.
Oh,
Yeah.
Because the field was cleared,
Yeah.
so that was last year, from what I remember.
Mhm. Yeah. And it all depends on when they build, like they have to do a bunch of site improvements and put in the parking and all of that first. But it's when they come in to collect a permit, that's when the apartment complex will generate much more than this in system development charges, but this is what we think they could practically achieve this year.
have another gas station approved?
The gas station over here, or the one over there at the ID zone?
I think that one.
Yeah, the ID zone was approved, but they haven't done
That was
anything.
just coming off of exit 9?
Off of 22 on
Yeah.
First Street, yeah. There's a gas station, a business complex, stores, yeah, bank,
but they're not-
hotel.
They're not
Yeah.
starting on that,
We haven't heard from them.
but they applied?
They're approved,
Okay.
They have to do with 22 and.
yeah.
Oh, wow.
They would have to put in a stoplight. They're gonna have to pay into a fund that would help improve the exit ramp on 22. I mean, there was quite a bit.
But you didn't allocate any funds.
We didn't allocate any because we haven't heard from them and
It's gonna take a minute.
and it's a different type of a build. A residential build goes up fairly quickly, but a commercial build, there'll be multiple years getting the infrastructure in. So, yeah. But if they do, I mean, we're hoping they do because
Right.
it would really help with other things. Really, you're trying to offset your commercial development a little bit in a community because that helps buy down the residential's impact for other things, So anyway, that's your SDC fund. Now, again, we wouldn't spend this on a project unless the money came in, and our council is what we call our contract review board. So anytime we're doing a public works capital project like this, it has to go to council for approval. So it's just, that's how it works. Any questions there? Okay, next one. And a lot of these capital funds, you'll see them, and largely you'll see that we anticipate budgeting funds coming in and we anticipate expenditures going out. Sometimes that just doesn't occur year after year. It could very well be next year before anything comes out of one of those funds, but we have a lot of projects. If we have an opportunity, we want to seize it. That's what we're trying to do. This is just our office equipment reserve. It's not a huge fund, but we bring in a little bit from each of the funds, and then this pays for the different equipment and or licensing softwares and things like that. So everybody's got copiers. We have a program, where we people do a maintenance agreement with all of them, and everybody has to do all of that equipment that's leased. So. No, this is more like operating stuff, not necessarily like building maintenance. So if you needed a new desk or that kind of thing, new copier, fax machine, whatever, probably could come out of here. Water improvement fund. This is the capital fund. I got a little turned around there. So this is the one that you see we've got a good beginning balance there. That's from our transfers in, our transfer coming in. One of the things council approved this year is, they approved what's called a live read meter system. And so one of the things we'll be doing is going out for an RFP for that. It's around $600,000 or $700,000, we think. And basically what that allows us to do is we can read anybody's meter at any time at City Hall. So if a customer comes into the counter and says, hey, I got a big bill in, we can actually look up their account and we can see exactly what their water usage was at any time during the day. The second advantage to it is, let's say, for instance, our staff are being proactive. They can either they can manually go in and scan the account's performance daily or weekly or whatever, or they can put some of the systems you can put an alert on where you can say this water customer's normal usage is 5,000 gallons. And if they go above that, it'll turn red or whatever. And then we can look into it to see if the person has a leak. That way our customers aren't paying for a leak for a month and a half or 2 months. And then they realize it after they got their bill, and then they come to us and say, I got a big bill. And we say, okay, let's send Public Works out and do some leak testing. And it turns out their toilet was running for a month or something. That's all on them because it's maintenance.
Say that was approved?
Well, council, it's not approved. Council gave us the thumbs up to go out and do an RFP.
That means get bids.
Go get bids.
Are there other cities similar to Aumsville that has that?
Yeah, we've looked at some of those systems. But we're small enough now that, if we were a larger city, because you're replacing all of the meters and you're replacing all of the radio reads.
600,000?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that includes replacing the meter?
Yeah.
Oh, wow.
And then it includes this radio system on top of the tower that reads it throughout the city. So it's a pretty extensive program. The other thing, some of the systems have a leak detection. So right now we have a fairly high loss water, and water's a valuable resource for us. And some of the systems you can buy in between meters, they'll actually detect if there's a leak between houses in the system. And then it will notify us, and then we can go out and get them fixed. Now our leak detection is pretty much when water kind of shoots out of the ground. There's other ways. We have sonar companies we can hire to come out and do tests, but it's just grossly expensive and it's not cost efficient for us. So usually we see water is when we do our system repair. So the other thing we've got to do is we do got to get a new well drilled, and we've got to get new water rights. Those are the things that we're working on. So there'll probably be multiple water projects. So again, that's just that money coming in that's there. You see the money from a couple of years ago, that was the money we took in grants to do the water tower or the water reservoir. That project's done now. And so then we just show everything site improvements pretty much on that one. All right. Sewer system development charges. That's our next one. Again, we put a program dollar amount in there. All of this money will be more of that money that'll help us do the reimbursement rotation of funds. We had to have a $2.2 million match. We had 1.7 and looks like about $1 million. We think maybe $1 million in here. So we've got more match than what we need. And we can expend all of these system development charges. I want to say it was a fairly good share, maybe 30% of the new treatment facility was an SDC eligible. So if we had, by example, $9 million in here, well, legally we could spend it. Unfortunately, we just don't see that much growth, so we can spend all of this. And it's just, you can see we've just got it all expended to the new system. So this is how we're going to manage that project, this fund and the other sewer improvement fund. All right, next fund is bikeway and pedestrian fund. There's not really a lot in this. Did I go? Oh, transportation system. There we go. Sorry, Josh. We've got some money in here. We've programmed in some SDCs, but even if you take the SDCs out, there's a little bit of money in there. Again, this has to be a project that is on our transportation improvement plan list that is growth related. So we can't just fix a city street with it. I wish we could. It has to be one of those connectors. We're kind of saving up for the Delmar connection to connect Delmar to 11th, because that would take a lot of that through traffic that's going downtown out of the.
Or less, when are you expected to, I guess, connect?
Well, it really depends. There's a lot of things that could occur. As an example, if the school was to get a bond approved, let's say they're going to do a capital project, and through that, they're going to do a capital project at the elementary school, that would trigger some sort of improvement to that connection. And
Are you talking about this bond?
well, any bond, I'm just hypothetical bond. So I don't even know what this bond consists of, but let's say, for instance, their bond plan was to build a new elementary school or a new building over there. When they came in for site development review, that would trigger the Delmar improvement. And so, it could be what the city would do is there would be a development portion share, and then there would be a SDC share. So we'd end up probably having them do that construction and then providing some sort of a reimbursement.
And forgive me, I guess, there is a property right there. There's a house right there. Does the city?
We have 60 feet of right of way. Where those houses are, when we approve those, where that little driveway is for those 4 houses, that's all city right of way. On all of their deeds, there was a disclosure that would be a through street.
Okay.
Yeah.
I didn't know
The
that.
other
So.
30 feet is on the school property right of way.
And we have, all of that right of way belongs to the city.
Okay.
The only thing, where that shed is, that's on Delmar,
Playground shed.
the playground shed, that shed itself is not city right of way. And that's a long story.
Property under it is.
Well, there's a lot of back and forth agreement or disagreement about it, but for right now, our feeling is we'll wait till the school triggers it, and then it's kind of not an issue.
Just didn't know, so
Yeah.
thank you very much.
Yeah. So they'll need, and what we see is buses, instead of buses turning off onto 11th, they'll go out 11th and they'll come in through Delmont instead of right there at 11th. So it's actually a much safer there's much safer plan there to be had for the students, but the school's got to get, you know, to a position where they're ready to do that. So anyway, that, so we're kind of saving that money up, but if there was a project triggered, the city does have some money for that. Unfortunately, this is one of those things where there's a handful of projects that trigger that are growth capacity related, and most of them are grossly expensive, like $3-4 million. So looks like a lot of money, but it's not quite there yet. Okay, bike pedestrian money. We get this money. This is dedicated, restricted funds. We get this money from the states right there, and it can only be used for pedestrian improvements. We did a pedestrian improvement right here on Fifth in conjunction with the Pizza Figueros, and did all that ADA ramps and stuff right there, and that's where that money went last year. And so we'll build it up every couple of years. We'll do a little project with it. All right, park system development charge, again, restricted funds. These are project funds, not operating funds, and they're based on capital. We don't have a lot in there. If we do get money in there, one of the things on our improvement plan that's system development charge eligible is the purchase of that property. So it's likely if we can get some of these funds in, we'll end up using it to pay a loan back for that 2.7 acres or part of a loan. We could pay 55% of whatever the cost is.
For clarity, the park is kind of being put on hold because you're purchasing property.
No, the park's not being put on hold for anything other than grant opportunities. The first phase, just to get a parking area, some sidewalks, and restrooms, a set of restrooms out there, it's about $1.5 million. Most of the grants that we're able to get are $300,000 or $400,000. So it's just a matter of money. Yeah. And, you know, we'll either get a lot of growth or, you know, maybe the city will end up doing a loan later if we're debt free at some point, and, you know, whatever. Okay, so that's that. So most of that will go towards, if we get it, it'll go towards that. Now, the property that is that park, the 23 acres outside of this new parcel we're talking about, this is how we paid for that, was through this. Okay, I think that's it, right? Do we got all storm drain? There's nothing in there, a few $100s. We do know we have to do something with the stormwater utility, but again, you know, even adding $2 for a stormwater utility to the utility bill is not popular. So it's one of those things we're working on it. Investing in families. This is our summer children's program. We've been throwing about $5,000 a year into that. I didn't transfer. You can see I didn't do it this year because we've got a hefty balance. And we've got a group of volunteers that have been managing it, and they've been doing the program with, you know, a very minimum cost. So we didn't seem to really need more money in there. So I'm gonna let this one ride a couple of years. They get books. A lot of times they donate the stuff themselves, so they'll feed the kids. We used to do that out of this fund, but they've been doing a lot of that themselves. So we'll buy some games or equipment for the summer program and books. They'll do different projects where the kids are doing like a craft project together. We'll buy the supplies for that, but it's pretty minimum. So we're just going to leave that the same. And then I think that's it. That's all of our funds. Do you guys have any questions for me other than what we've talked about? I think the city's doing pretty good. We've got a few challenges, but you know, you think back a few years, you know, we were really struggling, and I feel like we're in a position because we got ourselves into a position to be able to manage sustainable operations, but then also plan. Like we're planning for, we know We got equipment that will fail in the next 5 years. We're planning for that now so that we don't have a big surprise. And we're trying to scramble in 5 years and figure that out. And that's really, it's what you're supposed to do when you're doing these types of budgets, so.
I just have maybe a request maybe for you to consider in the future, the bikeway. I mean, some cities have really nice bikeways for people to go on bikes and go walk.
Yeah.
Ben, for Dallas, at least that I know.
Yeah.
Bikeways, and that would be awesome for me in particular.
Yeah. Yeah, and I'll touch on that a little bit. So that's dedicated money that we spend for pedestrian path or bikeways, but also our parks pay for that too. So we actually have a grant from Marion County that's in our park operating capital fund. And we do different things with that. One of the things we're looking to do this year as a project is to do hardscape paths in Porter Boone Park, where we've got the chips. And we've got some big plans, and I'll go ahead and they're pie in the sky plans. They're not approved yet. They're conceptually approved for us to go out and get more information and put a project together, but we don't have a contract. But we're looking at improving the skate park area that's there, adding some more streetscape or flatscape features because you know, the culture changes a little bit. At one time, they really wanted a lot of the bowls, and they like the bowls. As a matter of fact, people drive from all around to skate in our park. And we've got some flatscape features, but not that many. And so it's to enhance that. That's one of our capital improvement plans. And then we're looking at the possibility of putting a pump track just below it where the playground equipment is. Not quite as far over to the driveway, kind of up against that hillside. Why is that something we've identified in our needs? Again, things have changed, right? So if you go to the skate park, you see a lot of kids down there with bicycles and stuff in the bowls. Well, it wasn't really built for that. And so we put a pump track there, you get people on bikes. Skateboarders can use it too. It's a different type of thrill or activity. Scooters, you know, it appeals to a diverse group of people. The master plan has us moving the playground equipment to where the current dog park is back there. That was kind of a temporary
That's a great idea. That's a
project.
great idea to get that away from the road.
Get it away from the road and away from the older teenager kids for the small kids that are using the playground. And that would be a really nice playground. The playground equipment at Porter Boone Park has been there 35 years. We bought it used at surplus 35 years ago. So, you know, it's kind of done, you know. So to get some new equipment out there would be great. And then the plans have basically a roundabout at the end where the playground equipment is, and then the playground just on the other side of that so that people can drop their kids off or whatever. They can also play on the playground when they've got a baseball game or something going on. So, and you don't want your kids way out by the road if you're watching your teenager, right? And so that makes a lot of sense. So that's all part of our master plan. We have a pretty good match for that, you know, for a grant application. So we're pretty confident we might be able to leverage a grant. What we would then do is in a separate project that's completely a separate funding stream that's identified is the hardscape. We have plans, as a matter of fact, construction may be occurring at some point by our Public Works Department to rebuild that little bridge, the path bridge there. And they've designed kind of almost like a covered bridge, miniature covered bridge at Porter Boone. Yeah.
Terrible.
So that'll be improved, the hardscape paths, huh?
You called it a covered
Yeah,
bridge?
it's gonna be a miniature covered bridge.
That's what you're putting in.
Yeah, my staff are building it. Public Works folks. And then what we'll do is we've partially fenced in that far field over by the new apartment complex that's coming in. That's all wetland. It can't really be used for a lot, but what we're gonna do is we're gonna cross fence the front and we're gonna create a large dog park right there. So you're gonna get a larger run area for the dogs, that they don't have to be in such a confined space. And we'll get some paths there. So lots of plans for park projects. And we're setting the city up for success for the future. It's probably more information that you wanted, but
Great.
I'll give it to you. And once we have identified, like right now, it's all conceptual. So we have, overviews of what it might look like in the master plan, which everybody has seen because those have all been public meetings and just to adopt those plans was a big public process. What we're working on right now are more detailed designs and grants, and then we'll roll those out and let the community look at them as they go forward. Thank you.
Up or no?
You don't have, the only thing we want is your vote. At the end of the day.
Thank you, Ron. Do I have a motion to approve the fiscal year 2026-27 budget as reviewed and amended?
I move to approve the fiscal year 26-27 budget as reviewed and amended, and to recommend the city levy taxes at the permanent rate of $3.6327 per thousand as assessed value.
Second.
And I'll do vote by roll call.
Well, I think because everybody's present, they could simply do the ayes and the nays and just make sure that we capture Carrie's vote. Does that sound good to you, Kirsty?
Mhm.
Yep. Okay.
Further discussion or? Further discussion? Seeing none, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed?
I see Carrie shaking
Carrie
her
was
head, but
Muted. Oh, yeah.
Aye.
thank you,
And the
Carrie.
motion passes. And the meeting is adjourned at 8:52. Thank you. Can't see me.
Thank you for enduring a 2-hour spill. I really
Well done.
appreciate that.
Well done.